All right. What's going on, guys? It's Del Rey here. And, I'm not one for big intros, so I'm going to get right to it. Today, we're going to talk about the lustful woman. And I know you're probably thinking, like, what does that even mean? But, pretty much what we're going to talk about is how the basis of the woman is is lust. There are a lot of things in there, like survival and things like that. That's why they want to provide her and a protector, etc. But we're going to be talking about the lustful aspect of the woman and how it affects how she loves you and how you should love her. So, the reason I say this is because to me, a lot of things that women value depends on the feeling of it or the physical pleasure of it. Like if you've ever been with a woman and you've given her good, really good sex, right? It's like she's like addicted, and she'd do like damn near anything for it. She'd freaking cheat on her husband, or significant other, whatever. Also things like being like a foodie and things like that. Like if you notice that it's usually women that are like foodies. I know somebody's gonna put in the comments, well, men are the best chefs, blah blah blah. But in general, women are like foodies and stuff like that. So my point is that when women love, it's almost like a high. Um, when men love, we love a bit more stably. And when I say stable, I mean like once you're in with a guy in regards to his heart, we'll call it his heart, whatever. There's very few people that get to that stage for men. It's like we have a moat around it, but the people that do get in deeply, and that's kind of a bad thing in the sense that sometimes what happens is we let people get away with things that they shouldn't because we're emotionally attached. When, for instance, this is why like some things like loyalty and stuff like that are associated with men, right? Because once we become attached to something emotionally, we don't want to let that thing go if there's nothing wrong with it. And even sometimes when there is something wrong with it. If you ever seen a guy like with his favorite football team or whatever, right? Sorry, pardon me. With his favorite football team, something on my face. There we go. With his favorite football team, right? They'll lose like every game, and he'll scream at the TV and yada yada yada. But he's not gonna change his team, right? Whereas maybe a female would be like, why don't you just get a better team? But that's not how we work. It's not how we operate. We tend to be loyal. At least we should be loyal. It's a technically it's a generally masculine sort of trait. Anyway, going back to how women love. I think this is attributed to a lot of the divorces as well, because if you listen to women talk, when they talk about love, it's always something very emotional, right? It's a feeling. It's a getting to know each other on a deep level, and and romance and stuff like that. And I'm not saying that that can't be part of love, but the main tenets of love is really a verb. Love is a verb, in my opinion. And I think the way that men look at it is love is a verb. At least the way that they should look at it. In the sense that I don't think it's good for a man to fall in love with a girl. I'm sure you've heard this before, with a woman, but to love her. And what does that mean? I've been on both ends of the spectrum, right? Like I've fallen in love with a girl and I've loved a girl. And to me, the second state is way better. Now, I get it. The first one is falling, right? Like it means you're not in control. So it is that good feeling, that euphoric feeling. You know what I mean? But I think ultimately, if you're going to be the clear-headed one, you're supposed to be the head of the situation. You have to be, like I said, clear-headed and logical. And when you're wrapped up in emotion, you can't really do that. Um, for men, I feel the second love is better because you get to love that person for who they are and what they provide, but at the same time keep a cool head about you. You're more realistic about your love in the sense that you know that that person can leave anytime. Like this is not back in the day where unless you were beating your wife or not providing for her, there is no such thing as divorce, right? Like there's no growing apart or you know what I mean, or the passion's gone. That didn't exist in certain parts of history. But I feel like a lot of men still love like that because they sign a marriage contract, etc., etc. This is not the society for that. This society is very fickle, and a woman can leave you for any reason, right? She just thinks the guy down the street's sexier, and you don't do it for anyone. Do you know what I mean? So when you're talking about modern day love and marriage, it's very much female centric in the sense that you can leave for any whimsical reason. Now, that may be a good thing or a bad thing, you know what I mean? Depending on how you look at it, it has pros and cons. But what I'm saying is, it's not something that you want to divest your whole soul and being into. And like I said, guys love hard. This is the reason why women file for 80% of the divorces, right? Because a woman can just get bored, right? Like the passion's gone, or you don't take me out anymore, or yada yada yada. That high is gone, and sometimes they cheat, sometimes physically, sometimes emotionally. Many different ways to look at it. But I feel like, and they even said a study in Psychology Today came out and said that women cheat more, and the reason is because they get bored in monogamous relationships faster, right? Sexually, as well as, just being bored outside of that. So that explains a lot why women tend to divorce way more than men. And I know people are going to say, well, if he's not being romantic, what do you expect? And yada, yada, yada. And I guess that women do need that. I know women need attention. But at the same time, I feel like in this society, people aren't used to seeing good marriages and how they work. As somebody who's grown up seeing my mom and my stepfather, I mean, would you call it a good marriage? I don't know, but they're still together. And what you have to realize is marriage is boring, right? Like, that's a large part of it. And I think anybody who's seen their parents, grow up in a marriage realizes that it's not going to be all rainbows and sunshine yet. You're going to fall in and out of love with your partner, constantly. Pardon me, I'm a little under the weather. So, you know, um, I say that to say that I feel like women have this unrealistic expectation of marriage and long term relationships. And there's a reason why back in the day they didn't allow for divorces. Um, this was a substantial reason. Well, in their eyes, substantial reason because they knew that this would happen, and this leads to the destabilization of the society, right? Because the family is the backbone of society. So if all these families are breaking up, or people aren't really sticking together, then we see what we have here, which is high rates of infidelity, high rates of divorce, and things like that. Because, pardon me, people don't really understand what marriage is or what it looks like on a day to day basis. They watch it on Disney movies and things like that, and think that's what a marriage is supposed to look like. And especially from the woman point of view, because I hate to say it, but the woman's almost childlike, right? She, gets excited about these things, whatever, about the feeling, about the rush. Once the feeling and the rush is gone, she tends to look for it in other places. A lot of time, coworkers, right? I made a statement on Facebook the other day, and I said, if your woman is working a full time job, more than likely, pardon, more than likely, uh, she's cheating on you. And what I mean by that is this: she might not be physically cheating on you, but you gotta think about it like this. If she's working at least 8 hours a day at that job, rubbing elbows with the same people, she's gonna form emotional bonds and connections with men and sometimes women, that are gonna be inappropriate. And I know what you're thinking. You're like, no, it doesn't mean necessarily inappropriate because they're friends, but I think about it like this: how much do men and women really have to talk about before it turns sexual? I mean, it could be sexual innuendo. Maybe he grabs her waist when they're going, upstairs in the elevator. She doesn't say anything about it. She's like, oh, stop, or whatever. But they're doing something that's probably not kosher. If you were there, you probably wouldn't be okay with it, right? Because I mean, face it, day in and day out, they see each other, and they're probably talking about you as well. They're probably talking about you and what you're doing wrong, and she's spilling her feelings to this guy, whatever. And guaranteed they've thought of each other sexually. Again, doesn't mean that they've gone there physically, but um, I've heard so many stories about workers having sex dreams. Believe it or not, one of the ladies I work with said that she had a dream about me. She would never tell her husband that, you know what I mean? But the point that I'm trying to say is these things are happening every day in uh, military bases, offices, retail stores all over the country, you know what I mean? All over the world, you know what I'm saying? So, you know, um, you have to understand that women really crave that sort of that high feeling, and there's only so much you can give them realistically, you know what I mean? And if you have a good woman who accepts that it's, not gonna always gonna be thrills and stuff like that, that's great. If you have a good woman like that, keep her. But I am gonna have to say most people don't. And again, you can see by the divorce rates that, and then the people that are still together. I mean, how many of them are actually happy? How many of them are in committed, you know, faithful relationships? Probably not many. So, yeah. So I say that to say this. They compare women to nature in pretty much, I don't want to say all societies, but many societies. Why? Because they're constantly changing like the wind. You don't want to attach your whole soul and being to that. Again, you can love your woman. There's nothing wrong with that. But falling in love with her and thinking that this is going to last forever in a society that is so just, that's so changing all the time, in the sense that, you know, people are free to do whatever they want. Somebody could just ghost you one day. Not necessarily that your significant other's going to do that, but the state of the society is fleeting. So I wouldn't attach something rock solid like your being, your consciousness, your logic, your headspace, which is what you need to conquer the world as a man, to something so fleeting as a female emotion, as a female high. You get it? So women are lustful. They're just looking for that next high. And once they get bored with you, then they'll find it somewhere else. You know what I mean? Um, yeah. So that's all I have for this video. It's gone long enough, but the Lustful Woman. This is part one. There's gonna be many more on this. I'll watch this video back and see if I got my point across. But this is a really big topic, and a topic I feel like a lot of men should know. So anyway, leave the comments below and let me know what you guys think. All right, peace.